Hi, my name is Dennis Seary. I am Executive Director and founder of the New York City Independent Film Festival, Independent in Spirit, International at Heart, and this is the New York City Independent Film Festival Meet the Filmmakers podcast. Join us while we meet this year's filmmakers. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hi, in this episode, we're talking to Joanne and Meredith from the film Untangling. Welcome, ladies, and please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, thanks, Dennis. I'm Meredith Vuchnich. I am the writer, director, and producer of Untangling. I've been a screenwriter for the last 20-ish years here in Canada. I'm American and Canadian, but make my home in Toronto with my family. And my background before that was theater. I came from the theater. I did a master's at Northwestern. I worked in independent theater for 8 or 9 years, writing, directing, acting, doing all of it before I made the transition to screenwriting. Where I met Joanne Boland on the first show that I wrote for, which was called Train 48. And so that's when we became friends. And then the bigger thing in my career in the last 20 years, in the last 5 years that people have heard of more is called a film called Beans that I co-wrote with the director Tracy Deer. And I also executive produced that film, and that played worldwide at a lot of festivals and won a whole bunch of awards, and was a really wonderful thing to be a part of for the story of it more than all of the acclaim for it. But I'm just glad it's getting seen.
Hi, I'm Joanne Boland. I am a Toronto-based actor. I've been doing this for about 25 years now. I actually originally I went to school for musical theater and thought that would be my whole career. And one thing led to another. And it's been actually film and TV that has been the main source of my work for the last 25 years. And yes, as Meredith was saying, we met on this sort of experimental daily soap opera that was improvised. That ran for, what was it, Meryl? Like 300 and something episodes.
Yeah.
And I'm a mother of 2 boys, and that's a bit about me.
And the tiny bit about us as a friendship is we worked together on Train 48, but and we were friendly and liked each other, but I wouldn't say we were friends at that point. We were writers and actors, and I loved writing for Jo because everything I did, she made better. So I just kind of constantly fed her things to do. But we had our first children within a few months of each other, and that's when we became friends. So that's also very thematic for this piece, and it just felt like we would be the 2 people to collaborate on this one.
So what made you want to be a filmmaker? I guess we'll start with you, Meredith.
All the things, like, I have always loved movies. I've always loved theater. I've always loved all of it, the acting and the directing and the writing. And I always wanted to direct. I directed a lot of theater and got my skills there, but making that transition, 20, 25 years ago from theater director to film director was hard for anybody and really hard for women, and younger women. So it was not something that I found really simple to do. So at that point, I turned to screenwriting, and then screenwriting literally just kind of ate me up. Like, it was like, yes, please, more, just come work here. You can work. And so, and then I had kids, and then I had some other stuff happen. And so it just took me a little longer to get back to this than I ever thought. So I finished on a show called Moonshine, which is on the CW, little plug there. And so I was like, I got to make a movie right now. And so when I was out in Nova Scotia shooting Moonshine, I was writing this script. I was getting in touch with Jo. I was crewing up. I spent all my weekends just making this ready so that as soon as I got back from work, I could shoot this and then make it a reality. Because it's just, if you don't do it, then you don't do it.
True. And Jo?
In regards to this particular part, it was just basically the connection. I always saw Meredith as an amazing artistic voice in our community. And I could just always see, because of her background as an actor and a brilliant writer and all these things, for her, it made sense to me that the next natural place for her to go is a director, obviously. And especially as Mara was saying earlier, our connection into motherhood just made this make so much sense that, I would do anything Meredith asked of me. So that was a natural connection there.
I guess, well, Jo, you answered my next question. Meredith, I'll ask this question of you. What made you want to do this movie?
Well,
This project.
a few things, because I feel like it is, you know, as soon as you have a baby, people are saying to you, oh my God, it's going to go so quickly, you know, you're going to blink and it's going to be over. And so that,
I have a 31-year-old. I know what you mean. But anyway, go ahead.
I'm sure you do, you know, like, and so, you know, the daughter at the end of the film is my actual daughter. And, you know, it felt like that. Like I turned around and she was a woman and she had her own opinions and had her own thoughts. And I don't think any of us are prepared for it. So I felt like that connected with people. But I also wanted to really highlight the thing that, you know, in our distracted society right now, like, you know, becoming a parent is like you have this gift of love in your life and it's got a countdown clock and you can spend that time however you want. And I feel like for myself and people I see around me, but I can, you know, only speak to my own specific experience, is there's a lot of pressure externally to do this and do that, and that's a good mom, and this is, you know, this is give your kids these opportunities and connect with these people, and I don't mean connections like for jobs. I mean like just, oh, we love these people, let's go meet them in the park for dinner. Oh, we're going to do this, and it's very easy for life to get too cluttered and too fast, and then you are not actually talking to your kids. You're talking to the people you organize the dinner with, and you're not spending time present with your kids, and it's gone so fast. If you miss it, it's not coming back. So that was really the core I wanted to do. And I wanted it to be tiny for practical reasons, but also, and so that's why this idea fit with this project. But I wanted this idea to be tiny because that's the feeling of it. It's just so tiny. And then it's just this little blip in your life. You think it's forever. It's so all encompassing. You think it's forever. And then it's just not. As you know better than us, I bet, Dennis.
Anyway, so I guess my next question is, but I think it's also been answered. Did you find your family and friends supportive when you said, I'm going to be a writer, I'm going to be an actress?
Joe, why don't you go first?
Well, I was fortunate enough that my mother has always been exceptionally supportive of. I'm the only, I don't come from an arts family at all. So everything that my journey until now has been figuring it out for myself. But I was super fortunate to have a mother that, even though my path could have gone in many different directions, she always supported my dream as an actor. And so I've always been, and I blessed that I have a husband who is in this field as well. He's an actor and a director, and we've been married now coming up to 21 years. And our biggest thing, people always say, well, what is the, you know, the secret to a good marriage? And for us, it's actually supporting each other's dreams. So no matter what it is that he wants to do or dreams to do, we support each other, and we're lucky. And I have to say, the arts community and our particular film, TV, theater community in Toronto is probably one of the most supportive communities I've ever been a part of in my life. Especially, I think, you know, through the pandemic, that's definitely shown us how we can come together and support one another. So I've been fortunate in that regard.
And Meredith?
Well, you know, my mom was like, be a professional, be a professional. Like she just was like, you know, my mother is incredibly practical and I love it about her. And I've learned so much from her because of that. And then, you know, when I was trying to be an actor and, you know, it wasn't quite, I still wasn't paying the bills. And I was like, I'm thinking about this program at the Canadian Film Center, if I could get in, which is very competitive and hard to get into, to be a TV writer. And she was like, yes, do it 100%. And she lent me the money, you know, and because of the, you know, because of Train 48, I could pay her back within months, which was crazy. Like that was not what I expected coming from theater. Right. So my mother is very practically supportive, which is amazing. And and my mom's also listened to me. Like in that film Beans, there's a storyline about the daughter and the mother are deciding about this school for grade 7, and the mom's kind of pushing it. And I lived that. It didn't come from me. It came from the director, Tracy, but I was like, I actually lived this. And I said no. I was like, I'm going to the school that does musicals. And I got to play Maria in The Sound of Music. And that was like my dream. And I got to do that. And my mom had me in this great school with this uniform. And I think it broke her heart, but she listened. She didn't force me. And that's where I think she's been supportive, is she really believes that, you know, she has an opinion and a say, but that we know best. And so I feel like that's Yeah. So they've been, and my parents have been supportive of everything always since it started. Like they see everything, they come to everything. They're really lovely.
All right. I guess in some ways you answered the next question also, but this is a conversation. Do you have a group of people around you, like your tribe, your film tribe? Do you have that? Sounds like you do, but let's hear how you feel about it. Joe, want to go first?
Yeah, I say absolutely. It's interesting over the last 25 years. There's people that keep coming back like that I get to work with again and again, whether it be crew or directors or producers or writers or other actors. And it is, I love it. But what I also love as well is that meeting people that are entering into our industry and getting to know them and try to, I'm so fascinated by creatives and why people choose to do, or it chooses them to do what it is that we do. And I'm fascinated what it is that brought them here. But I would say it's exceptional. I think that's one of the reasons people stay in it, is because it is such a supportive community. It's too hard otherwise.
Yes. Meredith?
Yeah. It's that kind of thing like, you're at a point in your life and you make a decision to go in one direction and it feels very close to other directions. And then you add time to it and you get further and further away from where you started. And I feel like all those people that made that choice to go into film and TV and theater all kind of understand what we're going through and what we're hoping to achieve. And it is sort of a small community. And that's also why I've worked in TV and film, because up here we kind of have to work in both to make a living. And my husband's a film editor and a TV editor, and he's edited both Joanne and her husband in The Handmaid's Tale. Like that's how small and interconnected it is. He edited Untangling. But our DP, Paul Cuthbert and his wife Marianne Ledesma, who helped me produce it, they're my friends from the neighborhood. We have kids in school together, and he's a DP, and so we talked about things in the dog park. So this film in particular was very community. Our first AD is one of Joanne's best friends, Jeannie Kaleja. Am I saying it right?
Jeannie Kalea.
Kalea, and she's an actress and has done, very well. And it was like, yeah, I'll first. Why not? And so, and we had to hire some other young folks. And then as to Joanne's point, I also do a lot of mentoring because in this community because it did feel like such a closed door when you're on the outside of it. And especially when you're young and you don't know anyone and you keep meeting the same people, but you just don't know. It's just really good to talk to people who've made their way and are making a living. Like, certainly, like I remember talking with one young director and she had made a feature and I was like, 100% you're going to be directing sitcoms within the next year. And she couldn't even hear it. And it was like, oh no, you will be and here are the good agents and here is what you should think about because this is what's about to happen for you. And then it's totally happened for her. And it's been really wonderful to see the DEI, the diversity and equity and inclusion, really come through in Canada, and that sort of wave of not just in talking about it, but actually hiring people and bringing people in and helping new opportunities come to bigger communities and underrepresented communities. And that's just been a really great thing to be a part of, however small, however.
What was the hardest part and what was the most fun of this film?
Okay, I'll go with the hardest part was just giving myself permission. Like I have 3 kids, I have a career, I'm lucky. I have, we're both freelance. We need to work. We need to make money. We have 3, like my kids are 18, 16, and 15, 3 hopefully in university in the next little while. Like it was not, it felt indulgent, and it also felt really necessary to do. So I would say the hardest part was just saying, go for it. And then the funnest part was shooting. I couldn't believe how quickly it went. It was like a minute. Like being a writer on set's very boring. You have, especially when you're kind of a shadow director, you have a million ideas. You have to keep them in your hat. You can't you can't say it all. And then directing was like, it flew and it was so fun. And it was, it was really fun. That was being on set.
Great. And Joe?
Honestly, as what Meredith was saying, was shooting. And for me, it was actually being able to witness one of my close friends watching Meredith do what she does, and she's fantastic at it. And to also see, because we were blessed enough to have of her family there as well working on it. Rachel was working on it, and as Meredith was saying, Chris, and obviously Sophia, who was in the film, and to see them as a family and be able to witness it was honestly such a magical moment to see Meredith's journey and to be a part of it that day. I felt so fortunate.
You made me cry.
I know, I can see that.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
Well, and that's the other fun is Joanne's brilliant. Like she really is. Like that film could have ended 90,000 ways. She gave me so much. And that was the hardest part creatively, was getting the tone at the ending. Just like it was really walking a fine line. And, you know, my editor husband and I were all on the same page, except maybe with that ending. And that was where there was a lot of creative discussions about what this looked like. And so it was, and you gave us so much, Joe. You're so good. And the crew, Dennis, the funnest thing was the crew, like, because it was made up of like our friends who were helping, and then like, you know, some juniors who were volunteering, and then some people, juniors I had to pay. But so it wasn't a lot of people who had been on a lot of sets. And so they were like, holy, like, I don't know, can I swear? Is that okay? They were like losing their minds. They were like just watching her, and you could just feel the room going, oh my God, this is what an actor does.
There you go. Now she's going to cry.
Yeah.
All right, so the next question I have is, when you finish a film, are you the type of filmmaker, either one of you, that sits there and goes, 5 years later, you're like, oh, I want to redo that because I just really messed it up? Or do you finish a film and go, okay, that's it. Whatever mistakes I made, I've learned from, and I won't do in my next project, but this one's gone. This child's gone. It's out into the world, and I'm moving on. Which way?
I try to be the second, you know, like really hard, because it's like, otherwise you're living in the past, you know. And Tracy Deer, who directed Beans, and like, you know, when I say the film won a lot of awards, Tracy won a lot of awards. And so I asked her, I'm like, as my director friend, like, what's your one piece of advice for me? Like, you know, I don't, you know, and she said, there's no wrong decisions. There's only decisions. Which was great. You made a decision, move on. Don't go, oh my God, I made the wrong decision. Now I have to go back. No, you made a decision, keep moving. And that's sort of, I think, how like I keep working in general, is just like that kind of shark thing. You just keep moving.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, what's interesting and odd and amazing as an actor is that it's basically, yeah, for the last 25 years, I can see my life, you know, and how I've evolved, and figure out in different periods of my life and who I was then, you know, like in my 20s, what it was like when I was single and then married and then having children, and all these experiences lead you exactly where you need to be right in that moment. That's what I believe anyway. So I'm not ever hypercritical, because that's the person that, like, obviously when I was 20, I couldn't do a film such as Untangling, because I needed the experience, what it was to be a mother for me personally. So yeah, I just think wherever you're at right in the moment, be in that moment, because that's where you're at and that's what you can bring to it.
Right. Okay. All right. So here's another question. We all know that from indie films, we're not going to buy private jets and yachts and have mansions. So what is success in the indie film? What do you see as success? How would you define it?
I feel like connecting with people is the aim of all of it. Like, art is about connecting with people. So being seen, having people feel it, you know, I just showed the film before this one at the Kingston Canadian Film Festival, and I had a few young women come up to me afterwards who were sort of away from their mothers for the first time and having a bit of a hard time. And it was very interesting to like sit there and go, okay, I don't know you at all. And like, I'm going to try to give you what you need in this moment. But that was also really, really rewarding to feel like, okay, this film really touched them. And then beyond that, yeah, I mean, I have a feature that I've been developing that I want to make. And that would be the biggest success, is to make that. I've been developing it. It's called Walking and Texting. And I've been developing it with the Athens Film Office OWL screenwriting program. And that's been really helpful and great. And so that's the next thing I'm pitching, is that.
In the indie film world, that any film ever gets made at all. That's like, it's so difficult. I have such respect for filmmakers because of that, because you know how much work and love and passion it takes to get any film done. So that to me gets done at all. success.
So I guess in some ways you've also answered this, but let's get this direct. Somebody comes to you and goes, hi, Aunt Joe, Aunt Meredith. I'm going to be a filmmaker. I'm going to be an indie filmmaker just like you. What would you say?
Just keep making stuff. Like there's so much more access than there was when we were coming up. You know, like you can make something and it can go online and it can get viral and you can get noticed. Or if it's not about getting noticed, just keep making stuff and keep getting better, and you learn from doing. That would be the first thing I would say. Is just do it then. Don't look for barriers to entry. Just do it.
Absolutely. And I would say for myself is find your community, find a community of people that are going to help you along with your journey. There's something in Toronto, and it's based actually, it's larger than Toronto now, but called the Firecracker Department, which has a podcast and a whole bunch of different departments that kind of going, what do you need? What can you find? And it's specifically for, for women and non-binary artists, but it's a real community about how do we make things happen. And I think that is number one, to have people in your corner who will help you along the journey, because people want to help, as Meredith was talking about before. Like we've been, on this ride for 25 years, longer than that now. We have learned, I would love to share my experiences, help you in any way that I can. So, and it definitely is a community that is all about supporting one another.
And then I'm going to jump on Joe's thing for that, because I think like we've been lovely and positive, and we are lovely and positive. Having said that, if somebody who is established gives you the time of day, like Joe, like let's say Joe or someone, and reads your script and gives you thoughts, like even if all you feel is resistance, don't say it in the meeting, take it away with you, sort through it, figure it out, because they are giving you, believe me, they're busy, and they're giving you their valuable time to do this. And you're allowed to have your emotions and you're allowed to feel all your stuff, but just don't do it right then. Go off and do it.
We're having an earthquake.
Are you really?
Yes, I am totally
Oh
serious.
my-
Wait for a second. What the hell was that? Anyway, I gotta look that up. But anyway, that's it for my questions. Do you guys have any last words, any last statements, or anything?
Well, I mean, thank you so much to your festival for supporting independent filmmakers. It just is so refreshing to see a festival devoted to that and really passionate about independent voices and bringing all of that into New York City, which is such a diverse and exciting and relevant place. I'm so excited for it.
Great.
And earthquake and shaky place.